Welcome to the first ever video tutorial here at Order of Chaos Miniatures. I'm your host, Zebulon Bocage, and today we're going to talk about dry brushing, or as I like to refer to it as damp brushing. Now there are many dry brushing videos out there, and I encourage you to go out and learn as much as possible. We're going to cover some of these techniques, but we're mainly going to be focusing on how to paint these runes with a damp brush. We're going to cover every step of my process, from showing you all of the colors, techniques, and materials I use to paint these runes up fast and easy. Without further ado, let's get started. First up, I'm going to start off with P3 Formula by Privateer Press, their black primer in the can. This is a very blue-black primer. It provides a very smooth coat, and it's got this custom spray tip, unlike any other tip I've seen on a can. It comes out in a fan shape, not your regular conical circular shape, and it provides a very nice even coat, as you can see. I did a little masking on the back here because I plan on keeping these runes modular. Instead of permanently gluing them together, I want to be able to change it up every now and then. First paint on the list is Kabalite Green. You'll notice it's marked air here. It's because I've thinned it 4:1, 4 parts paint, 1 part flow improver. My flow improver is mixed 1 part flow improver, 20 parts water. You see the label on my bottle's a little faded here. But the flow improver that I use is Liquitex Professional Flowaid. It's the only flowaid that was available when I was in the market for a flow improver. You can find it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's pretty cheap, a couple bucks per bottle. And it's got instructions on the back for the rune. The brush we're going to use is one of those cheap dollar store brushes. And I've already painted several of these runes with this brush, and you can see it is still in good shape. That's because of the way I've been cleaning it in between my color changes, and we don't let the brush dry out while we're working with it because we're doing damp brushing. Give the paint a little shake and start loading the brush. Just a little dip in the paint. See, I've not overloaded the brush, but I definitely got a good amount of paint on there. Wipe off the excess from the outsides of the hairs. Now we're going to pinch the brush with a light pressure and pull the brush back, removing the paint from the outside of the hairs. And then we're going to swirl the brush a little bit, open the hairs up, and get some of that excess paint out of the middle. And now we're ready. So we're mainly going to be working in circular motions. Most of the paint's going to be coming off on our downstrokes. We're going to be trying to stroke from the top to the bottom, and we're going to be trying to avoid these bottom areas and these gold areas with the paint so that we can get a nice even gold paint on those comments. Starting from the top, I'll work my way across the top. Really just focusing on the edges right now, not trying to get too much paint on the flat areas while my brush is loaded. Once our brush has got a little bit of that paint off of it, I can start to apply some more pressure and paint some of these flat surface areas, like these bricks and the sides of these columns over here. I'm getting less and less paint coming off the brush, so I'm going to have to apply a little bit more pressure to get paint to come out of the brush. The brush is still wet though, remember the pigments on the outside have dried, so we're not peeling off any of those flakes. When it's time to reload the brush, I'm just going to dip it right back where I had originally placed my paint and pick up what was left that hadn't dried on the paper towel and just keep going. Now that we've worked on the top for a little bit, I'm going to start doing edges and the walls all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to be applying less and less paint the further down I go, trying to make a gradual fade from a dark shadowed area to the light green area at the top. And once we're done with all the colors, you'll really see the contrast. Slowly working my way around the model, making sure to get some paint into these lower flat areas while my brush still has a little bit of paint on it. You don't want to do that first thing after loading your brush, because then you'll actually like smear whole parts of paint on the model, and you're not going for that effect. Well, our brush is starting to dry out, hasn't fully dried yet, there's no dried pigments on the edges. We'll reload and we'll get back to it. Working on the top again, increasing that contrast. This is our second layer on the top of the model. Continuing on while my paint is less loaded. Reload that brush, make sure it does not get dry. Remember, we're damp brushing, not dry brushing. Although it's technically the same technique, there are different ways of dry brushing and different effects you can achieve with the different styles of dry brushing. With some dry brushing, you just want to hit the edges, and we'll be covering that a little bit later. Can't forget the top. You see we're coming along quite well. Lots of green on there, little contrast, top to bottom, it fades, looking good. Next up, we're going to clean the brush with some isopropyl alcohol. Now I've got a 97% isopropyl alcohol solution that I thinned down with some water to bring it down to 70%. Dab it in the isopropyl and wipe it off on a paper towel, using the same motion we used to take the paint off the brush when we were loading the brush. Rinse it out in a little bit of water. If you still see any pigments, you can rinse it again, or you can go back and clean again. I see pigments, so I'm going to have to clean just a little bit more with some alcohol. Repeat the process. The whole thing takes about a minute. And as you can see, there's no pigments left coming out of the brush. We're ready for our next color, Warpstone Glow. Now this paint has been diluted to the same consistency as the other paint. Now it's a much brighter green, it's got more yellows in it. So we're going to use it as our highlight color for the green. It's not going to be our final highlight color, but this is going to produce a layer effect that makes it so that as the color travels down the model, the contrast increases and the top is much brighter, significantly brighter than the bottom of the model. Working again in those circular motions. Most of our brush strokes are actually on the downstroke of the circle, but we're keeping it moving in circular motion so we don't have any straight streaks running across anything, and we're just catching those edges. Same as before, once the paint has come out of the brush, we can start to work on more of the flat surfaces, more of the detailed surfaces running down the model. Now I've ran out of paint already after doing the top of one side, so I'm going to reload my brush, repeat the process again. Now this time, because I'm only really trying to catch the edges at the beginning, I'm not going to fan the brush out with the swirl on the paper towel. I'm just going to catch these edges, start on the other side. Now that I've done both sides on the top, I'm going to catch the top edges. Working my way down the model, increasing the contrast as I go. Making sure that the top is always going to be brighter than the bottom of the model. Don't forget to go back to it after your first few layers have dried. And as you're working on the bottom of the model, the top of the model is drying. So you can stay busy. 2 coats, looking good. 2 colors. And again, cleaning the brush. Exact same process as before, lightly pinching the bristles between the 2 pieces of paper towel and pulling back, pulling the pigments off of the brush. Now we're going to use a wet palette. You can find these at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. There's a lot of videos online on how to make one yourself. I'm just using the regular palette paper, came with the wet palette. I've cut it in half so it's a smaller size. Now we're moving on to Retributor Armour. You can see I marked it on the top here with a little marker. That's because I put agitator beads in all my metallics. We're going to be using a wargaming character brush. This is from the Army Painter, and a mixture of acrylic retarder and distilled water. This is a 50-50 mixture. You can find this stuff at your local hobby store. One bottle usually lasts you like half a year. I'm just going to put some of this out on my palette by itself. Shake up my Retributor Armour. My agitator bead in there makes it so that I don't have to shake it as much. It acts like a rattle can. Make sure if you're going to put agitator beads in your paint that you use stainless steel agitator beads, that way they don't rust. Make sure you get the high quality ones too, the ones for nail polish and things like that, because that's those are meant for. Now I'm just going to dip my brush in the 50-50 mixture of retarder and water that I've got and mix it in with the metallic until I've got a nice flow on it. I don't want it to be too watery because I want it to stay where I put it, but I also want it to have a smooth finish at the end. Now these are ruins, so we don't want it to look that clean and shiny like brand new metal, but we're going to handle that later with the wash. Working our way around the model, getting a single even coat on all of these little comments. And if you mess up, you can just grab a regular cheap dollar brush, a little bit of water. If you do it right away, you can scrub out that metallic that you got on there, and it won't damage the paint underneath, as long as it's completely dry. Again, cleaning the brush the same way with the isopropyl alcohol. I mean, this brush is a little different. We're gonna condition it with a little bit of brush cleaner. Keeping a nice tip. All right. Our first coat of Retributor Armour has fully dried. We're also going to paint these rings and this little medallion here in the Retributor Armour. Second coat, same paint I took out as before. I did not take any new paint out of the pot to put on the palette. This is due to the nature of the wet palette, keeping my metallics from drying out. That retarder also made it so the metallics did not fully dry while I was waiting for the first coat to dry. You can see this is pretty quick and easy. Each comment only takes a few seconds. Working my way around the model again, making sure that there's a nice even coat on both sides. Spinning the model. get the best access. I painted these off camera. Now we're on to one of the fun parts. We're going to wash the gold with this glaze brush from GW and this Reikland Fleshade. This is going to tone down the shine on the gold. It's going to make it a little less yellow, a little more red, make it look a little more weathered, because we don't want it to be new. We're not going to go back and do any highlights on these golds after we're done washing them, because they are ruins. We don't want it to look brand new. Starting at the top, again, working our way down. Right now we're just trying to get everything wet. Cutting in some edges, making sure that I trace over all of the gold that I put on there before to knock it back a shade. Doing the same thing to the comets. And I'm leaving little droplets at the bottom of the comets so that the balls of the comets are a little more shaded than the wings of the comets. And that's the nature of wash too, it flows down. Alright, we're just going to coat the rest of these comets in that Reikland Fleshade. We're almost done here. Alright. Looking pretty good. Got some more contrast going on with those golds against those blacks and greens. Same thing again, going to clean the brush in the alcohol solution. Now we're going to do our last dry brushing layer with some Screaming Skull. Now it's always better to use an off-white rather than like pure white. We always try to go for organic colors. You're always going to be happier with organic colors than you are with pure white. Pure white can often be far too bright, unless you're going for like a glowy effect. Now we're going to do the same thing we did with the other green, circular motions starting at the top. First we're just going to try and catch the edges, and then we're going to work on the flat areas again once our brush has a little less paint. Being more precise now. Being very careful about where we're putting this color. This is our final highlight color. Again, less paint on the brush, hitting those flat surfaces. And you see the difference. Right, we're going to reload our brush again. Just rinse and repeat. Now that we've done the top, we're going to work our way down the model again with the colors. Trying to keep it light as we go down towards the bottom. Making sure to focus on keeping the top brighter than the middle range and the bottom range of the model. Don't forget those flat surfaces on the insides of those runes and on the very top. Alright, we're looking pretty good. 3 colors, and a gold, and a wash. Almost there. Cleaning that brush once again. Alright guys, this is where it gets fun. Using an airbrush, or you're working inside, make sure you get yourself a vapor mask. I use an airbrush for most of my base coats, most of my priming, most of my varnishing. I use a Badger Chrome. The reason I do this is because I live in Wisconsin and most winters are very cold here. Now we're going to use Flow Improver. Again, the same mixture of Flow Improver is right in the pot. We got Gloss Varnish, Airbrush Thinner. You're going to put those together in the pot. A couple drops of Airbrush Thinner, not very much. We're just trying to speed up our drying time a little bit so we can work a little bit faster. You can see the flow of the varnish on the side of the cup. We're going to do what's called the Gangster Gumbo by Next Level Painting. Hashtag Next Level System. A few test sprays. We're working at 25 psi with a medium spread. I'm going to spray this stuff on thin at first. I'm going to work my way up to slightly thicker coats, but the last coat's still not going to be a very thick coat. I'm just trying to get everything a little bit shiny here, break up the surface tension, seal in all that hard work we've done up to this point. And in between each one of these sprays, I'm still pulling back on that air. There's lots of air coming out, rocking back the trigger, drying as I'm spraying. First coat's all dried, 30 minutes. Working on that second coat of Gloss Varnish. Again, rocking back on the trigger. Alright, we're all done. Perfect amount of varnish in the cup. Nice. Alright, to clean the airbrush, we're going to use that same isopropyl alcohol mixture, which is what is recommended by the Badger Airbrush Company, and a cheap, stiff, bristle brush to scrub out all the varnish in the airbrush cup. And we're going to rinse it out with distilled water. Now, if you don't have an airbrush, you can go to your art store and get one of these gloss varnishes, or you can get a matte varnish. You can either use the ones from the art store or the craft store. And if you've made it this far, you deserve a break. Alright, jumping back in, we're going to get our porcelain palette ready again for a wash. The reason I use this one instead of my wet palette is I like to have liquids contained. We're going to use Agrax Earthshade and Flow Improver to thin it out a little bit, make sure that it flows off all of the raised areas. We're just trying to tint them slightly, give this small weathered effect on all those light colors that we just dry brushed on with that Screaming Skull. We're going to use a wash brush from GW. I believe it's called a shade brush. Starting at the top, working our way down to the bottom. We don't want oceans of wash on this, but we are trying to make sure that everything gets wet. That way the surface tension is broken and the wash is free to flow where gravity puts it. We're also going to be avoiding those gold areas again, but I will be dropping some wash in just like right here. Just kind of offset that black color just a little bit. Alright, we're all done with the wash. Looking good, shiny right now from the gloss and the wetness. Alright, last step, matte varnish by Vallejo. We're going to repeat the same process we used for the gloss varnish. Mixing with Flow Improver. No airbrush thinner this time. Gangster Gumbo again. Hashtag Next Level Painting System. So a couple test sprays and we're ready to go. All that's left to do is to finish spraying the matte varnish. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.